doing out there? Hi, ladies, girls. Um, Let me get myself situated here. um, haven't done girl chat in a while. Hi, Kitty. This is my Kitty. Capone. Come here, baby. Come here, Capone. Capone. Come here. You little snob. He is such a snob sometimes. Get over here. Get over here, my baby. These are my babies. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. Fall's on its way, like I said. I'm getting excited. We've had some really cool weather here. Cold, kind of cold yesterday and today here. And I'm loving it. But anyway, um, tonight's chat is going to be about pro-life or pro-choice. And I know that's kind of a hot topic for some people, kind of a heated subject. But the reason I'm going to do this one is because a young girl contacted me saying she's pregnant, she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't want to be a mother this young. She's not sure about aborting a baby. So I'm just going to make this video. This is more of a video about, how can I put it? I'm not going to tell you to do it or not to do it, to have an abortion or not to have an abortion. What I am going to do is say that I think in women's quest to, you know, the feminist movement and all that, in our quest to be treated equally and to do what we want with our lives and ourselves, I think sometimes the consequence of our choices is downplayed a little too much. Kind of like, okay, now I'm not comparing, children or women to children, but in the sense, I think you'll get my drift. If you let a child go and do whatever they want, because they say, I can do what I want now, they don't always stop about, and think about the consequences of their actions, and sometimes, of course, it gets them into trouble, causes them some grief. Well, it's kind of the same thing with women. As I've said in my other videos, we've fought for our, to be treated equally, equality, all that stuff, which I'm very glad for. But, as I said, I don't think the consequences are brought up enough. When it comes to abortion, okay, me personally, I am pro-life, okay? I'm not going to lie and try to pretend whatever. I'm pro-life. I have 5 children. I can't even fathom my life without one of my children being born, with having them not being born. It's incomprehensible to me to even think of that way. That's me. But I have known women who have had abortions, and it's sad to say, but the ones that I have known, they have a lot of problems because of it. They've turned to drinking, they've turned to drugs, they have severe emotional problems. Um, I want anybody out there who's pregnant and not, thinking maybe they want to go ahead and have an abortion. I want you to think long and hard about what you're doing and what the consequences are in the long run. It may seem like you can go out there, just get your abortion, the baby's out of the way, you don't have to worry anymore. If only it were that easy and that cut and dried. It's not, okay? These women that I've known that have had abortions, and a couple of them, the abortions were long ago, many, many years ago. They're still haunted by it. They're still haunted by what that child would have looked like, what they would have been like. They're haunted about what their voice would have sounded like, a first birthday, what it would have been like, their graduation, what have you. You can't think that you can end a life, and I'm sorry for those of you who say, well, if you get it done right away, it's just a cluster of cells. Well, I'm sorry. In my view, that cluster of cells, guess what? When you're pregnant, that cluster of cells is forming into a human being. It is a cluster of cells of a human being, not a dog, not a cat, not a bird. It's a human being on its way. So when you say, well, it's just a cluster of cells, yes, it is. That's how we begin as humans, okay? That's how life begins. So no matter how you twist it, shape, and turn it, I'm sorry, in my personal view, that's my view. I'm not telling you to think like me. I'm simply saying, in my view, that cluster of cells is a human being on its way. Now, I'm not in your position. I don't know what you're going through. You could be a very young girl, 14, 15. You could have parents that are going to kick you out, if you tell them you're pregnant, or keep the baby. Or you could be, someone older in your 20s, 30s, whatever. Whatever the case is, I can't imagine. I'm not going to say I know because I don't, but I can't imagine how difficult it must be. Um, all I do know is that if I can't get pregnant because first of all, I'm 57 and I had a hysterectomy, so it isn't going to happen. But I do know that if I had gotten pregnant now, for who knows what reason, I would keep the baby. So what I'm trying to say is, you need to think about the long run, okay? You can't possibly, I don't care how feminist you are, I don't care how progressed you think you are in being, I am woman type of thing, you cannot possibly think that it's not going to have an effect on you for the rest of your life to know that you ended a life before it even had a chance to begin outside the womb. Um, it's got to affect you. I'm sure there are plenty of women out there who've had abortions, they've gone on with their lives, maybe remarried, had children later, what have you. But you cannot, in all honesty, tell me that for the rest of your life you will not think about that child, that pregnancy, what that little person would have been like. It's not, unless you can have somebody, remove the memory part of your brain that remembers you were pregnant. You cannot go through your life without thinking about that. The women I've known that did have abortions, that is what they told me. That they always, always think about what would that child have been like? What would their voice have sounded like? What would their eyes have been like? What would they be like today at this age? What have you? And these women, sadly, um, you know, they're so haunted that even though they've gone on with their life, careers, marriage, what have you, it still has haunted them deeply. Because, I mean, like I said, no matter if you're a normal human being with normal thinking processes, and I'm not talking somebody out there who's strung out on drugs all the time and has no clue of the real world. I'm talking your everyday human woman out there. You cannot think that by just ending this pregnancy you have ended the woes of it all. Now look, I know, I can imagine what it would be like, okay? Say you're 15 and you're watching this and you just found out you're pregnant, and maybe you've already told your parents and they're like, you're not keeping that baby, we're not raising that baby, blah, blah, blah. You know what? This is a situation where it's really tough, because obviously you have to be able to support yourself. If your parents kick you out, have somewhere to go. But you have to remember, if you let other people make that choice for you, you are the one that will have to live with the decision for the rest of your life. If you no matter what your age, if you're pregnant and maybe you don't want that baby, okay? There are a lot of women who don't want children. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people want them, some people don't. If you're pregnant and you don't want that child, please, I'm making this video because I don't want you to go through what I saw these other women go through and are going to go through till the day they die. You can put a baby up for adoption. I mean, there are people all over this country who want a baby. Sadly, there are a lot of older children that nobody, wants to adopt, but babies go like that. So, I want you to stop and think. Think about how this is going to affect you. Don't get in the frame of mind thinking, oh my God, I'm pregnant. You're terrified, so you say, oh, I'm going to go get an abortion. Don't do it like that, because this could affect you for the rest of your life. I mean, think about it. The rest of your life. If you're 15, 20 years old, 25 years old, you've got a long life ahead of you. And regardless of your age, it's going to affect you for the rest of whatever life you've got left. And I find it interesting that they call it pro-choice, because you know what? Once you make the decision to have an abortion and you have it, your choices are gone. They're completely gone. You can't go back and say, oh gosh, I was just scared at the time, and now I don't think I should have done that. You can't go back and change it. Once it's done, it's done. That baby's gone. And that, to me, is something that I don't think is pushed enough in terms of what the consequences are in the long haul, okay? Um, if you, let's say you're pregnant and you decide you don't want it and you give it up for adoption, okay, at least you know you brought that life into the world, and and somebody got the joy of having that baby and raising that child. You have that knowledge of knowing you gave it a chance, okay? And I, like I said, I'm not doing this to tell people this is what you should do. I'm simply saying that the people I have known that have had abortions, no matter how they try to put off how wonderful life is now, they're married, new kids, uh, careers, what have you, they are so haunted by this. This can't go away. It cannot just be brushed under the rug like, oh, well, so I killed my baby before it was born. And yes, I'm sorry, that's what it is. When you abort a child, you are killing an unborn child. Okay? And I don't care, like I said, you want to say it's a cluster of cells in the very beginning? Well, it's just a matter of a few weeks before that cluster of cells is taking shape as a human being. And I know there are a lot of girls out there, or women out there right now, who are pregnant and they're thinking, what the heck do I do? What in God's name do I do? I don't want this baby. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They don't know what to do financially, emotionally. Maybe they don't have somebody to support them, to go through this. But I don't want you to make the decision at a time when you are terrified and scared, thinking, what am I going to do? That's not the time to make the decision. Make your rounds. Go to your family, to your friends, whomever you feel you can trust, to get you through this. If you're young and you're in a household where somebody, let's say they've kicked you out, okay, and you're living who knows where right now, and you're scared, remember there is always the adoption option. You can always put the baby up for adoption. And if you choose to keep the baby, well, baby, of course, remember, you've got to be able to support it. And I know there are people out there who are totally against any kind of welfare, what have you. Well, life is real in the way that things happen. Things don't always go perfectly, no matter how hard you try. You can use the most perfect birth control and still get pregnant. So that's why you have to be so careful with this whole, sex before marriage or sex before a commitment with somebody, because you can end up pregnant regardless. And, there's always, let's say you're young or whatever age, let's say any age, and maybe you're not in a great financial position to bring this child into the world. There is welfare, there is food stamps, there is medical care, there is, and I'm not condoning this, so don't think I'm saying, oh, well, go ahead, get pregnant, and you'll be taken care of. I'm saying if you're in that position already, there are options to help you. You can go to your human services department, tell them your situation, how can you get help, what can you do. I know this is scary, it's not an easy choice, it's a difficult choice. Even me, married, wanting my children, it still was frightening, like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, another child's coming into this world. It's still kind of a scary, as much as I wanted it, there's still that little fear factor, like, oh my gosh, I'm bringing another human being to this world who's going to require my care, blah, blah, blah. That's natural and that's normal. But if you're in the situation where you're trying to decide, should I have an abortion or shouldn't I, please, what I'm trying to say is do not make that decision when you're at the highest point of fear, okay? Don't do it then, because if you do it, and then when you come down from that fear and maybe you figure, hey, I could do this, or I could bring this child into this world, if to give it up for adoption, if anything, if you make that choice in haste and in fear, you can't go back, girls, ladies. You can't go back. And this can haunt you forever, forever. And anybody out there who's had an abortion who can honestly say to me, oh, it doesn't bother me, I've gone on with my life, well, then you don't have a heart. Okay, I'm sorry. You cannot have a heart. You simply cannot have a heart. I don't care if you get angry. I don't care if you get mad at me. You cannot have a heart if you say you're not affected at all. I don't even care if it's that much. If you're affected, you've got to be affected to some degree that you did do this. Now, why I'm making this video, again, I will repeat it. I'm not telling you to do it or not to do it. I'm simply telling you there is a consequence for our actions, okay? There is a consequence. And this consequence is one that you don't get to just change your mind on, okay? This is the one where, like I said, you can't just say, oops, I decided I didn't want that abortion. I think I'll take it back. You don't get to do that. Once you have it, it's permanent. It's done. It's over. And I don't want any of you women out there to go through the rest of your life suffering and in agony. The ones that that I have known, that I talked to, one of them, she was total alcoholic. Another one, alcohol and drugs. Another one, alcohol all the way. And when I would talk to them about it, they'd be like, sometimes I stop and think, what would that baby be? Was it a girl? Was it a boy? What they go through these things in their minds because it's only natural. It's only natural to think of what that child would have been like. So that's the point of this video, ladies and girls, is I want you to think long and hard before you make that decision. Don't jump into it out of fear, because you can't take it back, and this could haunt you forever. And I literally mean haunt you. Like one lady that I knew, she told me, every time I see a little girl or a little boy, I wonder, would my child have looked like that? Going by her coloring, would my child have looked like that? Would my child have kind of sounded like that? She said that she would have dreams about this child, that she would have nightmares waking up, hearing this child crying out, "Mommy, mommy." And all because she made the decision in haste, in fear, not knowing what she was going to do. So you need to turn to people who can support you, help you, not judge you, not sit there and tell you better get an abortion, you better not get an abortion. Somebody who's going to help you express your feelings, your fears, your desires about what's going on. And like I said, financially, I know that's scary. If you're not in a financial position to support a child and you still want to keep it, that's frightening. But there are lots of women who have done it. Lots of women who have brought a child into this world where they, maybe weren't in the best financial situation, but they still kept their child and raised them. And once again, like I said, I'm not condoning going out there and getting pregnant and, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm talking about if you're already in the position where you're pregnant and you're not knowing what to do. This is a very tough time for you. I can't imagine what it must feel like for you. But I do know that because of the women I've known who have had abortions, I would hate to see a one of you go through what they have gone through since the abortion, okay? I would hate, one of them, she could not get pregnant again. They don't know if maybe the abortion did something to her because she couldn't carry a baby. She'd get pregnant and it lasted about 3 weeks and she'd she'd miscarried. So they don't know if maybe the abortion damaged her in some way. So she has to live with that as well, that she hadn't been able to get pregnant at all or keep the baby. She only got pregnant once, never could get pregnant any other time. So, who knows what happened there. I'm not saying it was because of the abortion, but even the doctors told her it could be that you were damaged and now your uterus can't hold a baby. So she has to live with that as well. So there are a lot of consequences. I want you ladies and girls to stop and think, Um, like I told you, I am pro-life because I can't fathom my life without my children, not a one of them. I can't even imagine what for me personally, I can't imagine going through life knowing that I ended a child's life. It's just, for me, I can't think that way. It doesn't process in my brain. But if you have already had an abortion and you're going through all these kind of feelings of, oh my God, I made a mistake, what would that child have been like? My heart is with you because I can't imagine what it would be like to be in that position. I just can't. And I know there are people out there who are just going to say, well, you get what you deserve, you ended the life. Well, I can't think that way because I haven't walked in your shoes. I don't know what you went through at the time that you had your abortion. And if you are suffering emotionally from it because you do think about what that child would have been like, you do think about, this would have been the first birthday, or this would have been the day they graduated, or what would have been like if that child would have given me grandchildren. All these thoughts that go through your head, my heart is with you, because I can't imagine how painful that must be. And you know, you women, you girls, you need to turn to somebody that you truly trust and who won't judge you to talk. You know, and if you don't have a friend or a family member like that, you know, you can go to different places. I'm not a religious person, but you can go to churches and just talk to people. A lot of those people are very kind. You know, not all of them are Christian nuts that are going to condemn you. Some of them are very kind. You can find, you know, groups in your city to help you cope with these sort of things, or go talk to a counselor, a therapist, something of that nature. You'd be surprised how many people are out there to help you go through this pain, if you're going through this. Because I know from the women I've known that had abortions, the pain is something I would not even want to live with for the rest of my life. I couldn't imagine waking up, you know, daily thinking, well, this child would have been this age, this child would have been doing this at this time, this child, oh gosh, I can't even fathom what that would feel like. And that's what I want you girls and women who may be pregnant right now to stop and think. Think hard. Do not jump into an abortion out of fear. Okay, don't do it. Because I don't care how we as women have come along in this world. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be honest. I get angry when I hear somebody say, oh, well, you know, we have the right to do what we want with our bodies. Well, okay, that's great. But the only problem with that, there's a little problem to me. Now, I'm not telling you to agree or disagree or whatever. I'm just telling you my feelings. The problem with that is when you're doing something to your own body, great. But to me, when there's another body growing inside of you, to me personally, I don't think we have the right to do something to that body, okay? I'm sorry, that's my view. And I'm not condemning those of you who had an abortion, don't get me wrong. That's just my personal view. Doing what we want with ourselves as women, yes, that's our right. But to me, there's that little, you know, pretty big, I should say, thing there where, well, once we're pregnant, we are now dealing with someone else's life and someone else's body. And my personal view is we don't have the right to kill it. That's just me. But like I said, I'm not here to condemn those of you that have done it, because my heart does go out to you. It truly does, to those of you that are suffering, who are going through hell because of your decision. And like I said, unless you are literally made of stone, you cannot go through life not thinking about it at some point, a little bit here, a little bit there. You can't do it. It's just not humanly possible if you're of a right mind. You cannot go through life without thinking about it. So whatever your situation right now, there's always someone to talk to. Go to your priest or your pastor, or go to your human services, you know, talk to a caseworker. Um, Maybe even a friend's family. Maybe you can't deal with your own family because maybe your own parents or your own family, regardless of your age, is saying, oh, no, you don't need that baby, get rid of it. And you're thinking, I don't know what to do, though. Go find somebody you can truly talk to. You know, if you go to your human services and tell them your situation, they can set you up with a caseworker. They can set you up with someone to talk to. Don't feel you're completely alone. You're not. You might feel like you are because you don't feel you have somebody to turn to. We've all been there in one situation or another where we feel like, who are we going to talk to? But there's always somebody. There's always someone you can turn to. You know, you have to put your pride or your fears aside and realize, I'm in this position, I'm pregnant, I don't really know what I want to do, I need to talk to somebody. Go talk to somebody. And if the somebody you talk to seems like, you know, cut and dried, yeah, you should get an abortion, no, you shouldn't, well, that's not the one you want to talk to. You want to go talk to somebody who helps you go over, assess the whole situation, figure out what you're going to do. And as for you parents out there, if you have a daughter who is pregnant, say a teenage girl, she's 14, 15, 16, whatever, a young girl who's pregnant, you damn well better not be kicking your daughter out because she got pregnant. You are nuts if you do that, okay? I'm sorry. You are a nut job if you throw your daughter out the door at a time that she needs you more than ever in her life. Right now, if my daughter were to come to me and say, I'm pregnant, Mom, she's not married. Yes, she's living with her boyfriend, and they have 2 beautiful children, and they're very happy right now. But if she were not with him, and did come to me, I'll be damned if I turned my daughter away. I'd be trying to figure out how to help my daughter, how to get her through what she's going to go through. So you parents out there, if you have a daughter who's pregnant, regardless of her age, and she has she's not married, she has nobody to turn to with this child, you damn well better be there for her. You're not there to be a parent only through the good times. You're there to be a parent through the bad times as well. And something like getting pregnant, that's one hell of a big deal. And she needs you more than ever now. How would you feel if your daughter decided to kill herself or do something really drastic because she couldn't turn to you as parents? That would be a horrendous crime. That's just a crime in itself, that you would turn your daughter away. So you need to stop and think about, if your daughter has come to you and said she's pregnant, don't you dare be pushing on her. You better get an abortion or you better not get an abortion. You need to talk with her. You need to help her. Find out her feelings. Find out the options. And remember, if you force your daughter to have an abortion, you could be the cause of that girl having trauma, emotional trauma, for the rest of her life. For the next 60, 70 years, it could be because you pushed her into an abortion. And she could spend the rest of her life thinking, what would that child have been like? What would my little boy or my little son or my little daughter have been like? You don't dare push your daughter into an abortion. Help her go through all the emotions and feelings of what she's going through. Talk to her about it. I still say, you know, adoption. I mean, there's so many people out there who want a baby. If you don't want to help your daughter raise that child, you know, raise your grandchild, well, there are plenty of people out there who will gladly take that baby when it is born. At least, you know, your daughter would know she brought the child into the world and gave it a home. You know, gave it to somebody who will love it and raise it. You know, and who knows? You know, down the line, you always hear stories of somebody who, once they became an adult or once they were 18 or whatever, they decided they wanted to track down their mother. And they find them, and a lot of times it turns out good. A lot of times, yeah, they get told, go away, I don't want anything to do with you. That's a risk that that child will take. But how many times, even if, you know, in my view, if one child seeks out their birth mother and finds them, and that birth mother accepts them, and their adoptive parents accept the situation, what a wonderful world for that child to finally be able to connect with their bloodlines. That will always be there. So don't you go pushing your daughter or a friend or a relative or whoever into an abortion, because you're taking away any options that could be out there in the future. And that's what my video is about, the future, not the moment of panic and fear of, oh my God, a pregnancy, an unwanted pregnancy. I don't want to see any more women or girls go through this. I can imagine how many of you out there either know someone or you are someone who has had an abortion, and you are spending the rest of your days wondering about this child, what it would have been like, what its voice would have been like. Like the one woman told me, she said, I have dreams of it calling me mommy. I can't even imagine. When I listened to her story, I started to cry because it hurt me to think what the pain she's going through. And I'm not going to condemn her and judge her because she made the decision. I don't know. You know, I didn't know her at the time she had the abortion. I don't know what was going through her head or who was supporting her or not supporting her at the time. It had to have been very hard. It had to have been hell. And that's why I'm saying, think about it. Think about it hard before you have an abortion. I know we have the right, you know, pro-choice, pro-life. But like I said, when it comes to pro-choice, when you make the decision to abort, your choice is gone. There is no longer a choice. Pro-life, if you decide to give that child up for adoption, maybe somewhere down the line, you can seek out that child. Maybe time passes and you think, you know, you can, and nowadays you can set it up to where you have an open adoption. You can look for people who want an open adoption. I have seen that on TV, where they gave up the child to a couple who said, fine, we don't care if there's an open adoption. It's all right if our child gets to know their birth mother. There are a lot of people who will do that. You know, they're so desperate for a baby, they will do just about anything. So you do, you know, there is that option that if you give the baby up, you can have, you know, an open adoption. And, you know, maybe you just decide to let it go and get on with your life. But even so, maybe 10, 15 years down the road, 20 years, you're thinking, I wonder what my child is like. You can seek out that child. You can decide, I want to see what the child is like. And of course, nobody can guarantee it'll be a good outcome. The child might be very angry at you for giving up for adoption, or they might be very grateful. I've seen both on TV. Again, it's a risk. But even if the child were to turn you away, say you decide to search them out and they turned you away, well, at least you know your child is there, living a life, and hopefully a happy life. You have a little bit of a thought like, well, my child is there, and it's living its life. But when you do abortion, you have no options. There's no a 50-50 chance of, well, maybe I'll see them in the future, maybe I won't. It's cut and dried. And I think when it comes to something like a human life, I think that's a pretty harsh reality, to know that you aborted a child. Now there's no going back. There's no changing your mind. There's no saying, oh my gosh, I did that out of fear and terror and worry. You can't go back. Whereas if you put the child up for adoption, say you truly don't want to have a baby in your life at that whatever point, for whatever reason, at least you have the knowledge of knowing that that baby was given a chance. Yeah, somebody else, and a couple or a mother or father, whatever, was given a chance to raise a child. And again, when it comes to adoption, the only thing that matters is that your child is given to somebody who loves it. I don't care if they're gay or straight. I don't care if it's a gay couple or straight couple. That doesn't matter. In my book, that's one of the stupidest arguments in this country is, gay couples adopting a child. I don't give a damn what you are, as long as you are a loving child, a loving couple to that child. No little child is going to give a damn if you're gay or straight, if you're loving them and giving them a good home. And that's what you as a pregnant mother, if you don't want your child, needs to stop and think. There are so many out there who want a baby, who want to give them a wonderful life. And you don't ever sit back and think, well, because it's a straight or gay couple, no. You need to stop that thinking and realize that that baby could care less who's hugging it and holding it and cuddling it when they're in bed together. They're not caring. All they know is, I am being loved and taken care of. And for those of you who want to keep your baby, and you've been thinking of abortion because you don't know a way out, you don't know how to deal with it because of your circumstances, don't just rush into that abortion. Go talk. Like I said, get to your human services. They help you a lot. They can help you an awful lot, believe me. After my divorce, when my little boy was 2 years old, many, many, many years ago, I don't know what I would have done without, the food stamps and the help that I received. I didn't receive financial help because I did go to work right away. But I did get help with WIC checks and food stamps for a while. I don't know what I would have done without that. But there are options. If you are pregnant and you're young in particular, and you don't want to get rid of the baby but you don't know how to do it, please do not just jump into an abortion. I don't want you to be haunted for the rest of your life. Listen to what I'm saying. Go talk to somebody. Okay, go get that caseworker. Go to your human services department. Find somebody you can turn to talk to discuss how to handle it all before you go and just jump into it. I don't want you messed up mentally and emotionally because you jumped into a decision of ending a life before you found every option possible, okay? And once again, this is not a video to say keep that baby. I'm not pushing pro or pro-life or pro-choice. I'm simply stating the facts. I don't think enough people state the facts of what happens when you do have that abortion. It sounds so easy. Oh, I'm pregnant? Well, I'm going to go have an abortion. It's out of the way. Now on with my life. Come on, people. That's not the real world. The real world is that you are ending a human life, and you have to deal with that. You have to figure out how you're going to deal with that in the future. And this one woman that I knew, well, she was young. She was 20-something at the time, 28, I think. She had aborted a child. She had two other children, but she had aborted a child. She told me that she would look at her kids and wonder, would that child have been anything like them? And she said she would think about it, dream about it. As she would look at those two kids, she would always wonder, would that baby have been anything like them? I can't imagine the hell of that. I cannot imagine the hell of aborting a child, then going on with your life, getting married, or just having children, whatever, not necessarily married, but having children later on. You can't help but stop and look at that baby and that child as it grows and wonder, what would that have, would the child I got rid of, would it have been anything like this? I'm sorry, that's the reality. I'm trying to point the reality. I'm not trying to push, keep it, or anything else. I'm simply trying to keep, like this young girl who contacted me, she's at a crossroads. She is falling apart because she's afraid to tell her parents. She's afraid they'll kick her out. She's afraid of what will happen. She wants to keep her baby, but she doesn't know how. She's one of those kids who could end up committing suicide because nobody opens their damn hearts and brains to say, I'm here for you. What can we do? How can we help you? And help them. Okay, and that breaks my heart. For you, you know who you are. You wrote to me, and I told you I was going to make this video. Don't you dare let anybody talk you into that abortion like that. Don't you dare. I don't care if it's your parents. I don't care who it is. You are the one who will live with that consequence for the rest of your life. Go find someone you can talk to. I'm saying it so strongly. Go to your human services, please. Find a caseworker you can discuss everything with, your options with, everything, before you make the decision. Because I'll tell you right now, I just found out, a friend of mine, we had been friends back in the 70s and lost touch because she moved to the east, and her daughter got pregnant at, I think it was 15. Well, that daughter, is now, I think, about 38. And my friend, she died. Unfortunately, she died last year. But her daughter, I found out my friend had died, and I contacted her daughter. I knew this little girl when she was like 3, 4 years old. And now she's 38, married, has a child who also has a child. So she is 38 with a 22-year-old daughter who has a baby. And this girl is, only 38. But my friend, who, at the time this girl got pregnant at 15, she did not go and kick her daughter out in her grandchild. They became a family. She was there to help. Everybody was together. So now this young girl, she is married, and her daughter has a baby. And so there's this little family. She sent me a picture, and it's a beautiful little family. And it had to have been rough to go through that, being a mother at 15, but she did it. And she survived it. And she's now married, and she now has a daughter and a grandchild. And it can be done. I'm not saying everybody can do it. I'm just saying it can be done. So the whole point of this video, please hear me, is do not make the decision to end a human life based on fear and terror and worries and other people telling you to do it. Especially the father. If you've got the father saying, oh, hell no, I'm not going to pay child support, I'm not taking care of that kid, go get rid of it, to hell with him. It is you who are going to have to pay the price down the line of being haunted by this. It is you, the female, the woman, not the guy. It's sad to say, but most guys are like, oh, to hell with it, I don't have to worry about it now. That's not the case for the woman. The majority of the times, I'm pretty sure these women who have abortions, I'm sure they go through a lot of hell in life down the line. Because the 3 that I knew, each one of them did. And then there was another one I knew. She wasn't a friend, but I knew her. This one woman was into drugs, drinking, you name it. And the subject came up of I had a baby one time, but I aborted it. Well, that was, I don't know how many years ago, and she's still bringing it up. So that means it's haunting her. It's still haunting her. So you girls out there, you women out there, don't jump into an abortion thinking it's an end-all. It's that, you're not wiping a table clean and, you got a clean table. That's not how it works, because you're human. Your emotions and your mind are going to play with you over this. So don't just jump into it. And you people out there, whether it be parents or friends, relatives, if you know somebody who's pregnant and they're going through not knowing what to do, don't you dare push them into an abortion. Don't you dare tell them, get rid of it, because it isn't you that's going to suffer down the line. It's them who has to stop one day and think, my God, I ended my child's life. You need to just sit there and talk with them, find out their feelings, their emotions, help them through it, help them decide what to do. And in my case, if somebody came to me, like I said, I'm pro-life, I would be telling them, look, if you don't want to be a mother, great, that's fine, I understand that, but there's somebody out there who would want the baby. That's what I would be. I wouldn't push it, I would just simply say, this is the way I feel, if they asked my opinion. I would say, you know, there's somebody out there who would want that baby, and wouldn't you like to know that this child is going to come into the world and have a chance? Who knows what he's going to be in the future, or she. That's the way I would handle it, but I would not say in a way that I would, you know, push it on them. I'd just say, this is my feelings. But I don't want anybody out there pushing anybody into an abortion before they have really thought about it, before they have gone over every option possible, before they have talked to as many people as they can that understands them, not directs them and judges them, but understands them. So you people out there who know someone who's pregnant and they're on the fence about abortion or not abortion, you need to be there for them. This is when they need you the most, particularly you parents with a daughter in this position. Don't you dare go throwing her out the door because of some stupid religious pride or some stupid pride of family. Don't you dare do that. She is your child regardless of what's going on. She's your child and she needs you more than ever at this time. So you can get off your damn high horses. I know, I've known kids who, well, my parents kicked me out because I got pregnant. You gotta be psycho. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna hold back. You gotta be psycho to throw your child out the door because they get pregnant. You gotta help them through this period. You gotta help them through this time. So, again, I'm gonna end this video because there's really not much else to say, but my heart is with you. If you are watching this and you're pregnant and you're on the fence about having an abortion or not having an abortion, my heart is with you. I mean this with all my heart and soul. I feel for you. I truly do, because I can't even imagine what that would be like. I just can't. With all of my children were wanted more than anything in this world, and I luckily gave birth to 5 very healthy children, which is to me a miracle and a blessing that every one of them was completely healthy. And I am so grateful that I had them all. And believe me, 2 of them weren't planned, so, you know, there were some fears there, but I couldn't be more grateful that they are here. They are now all adults, and I'm very glad that they have been in my life. So you girls and you women who are on the fence, think about it. Don't just jump into it. This is not a cut and dried solution, and anybody who tells you it is lying to you. Anyone who says, well, look, you go get that abortion and then you don't have to worry about raising the baby, you don't have to worry about it, putting it up for adoption, you don't have to blah, blah, blah. They are lying to you, because you may not have to take care of that child physically in any way by raising it or putting it up for adoption or whatever, but then for the rest of your life, you will have to deal with the fact that you will be haunted by this, okay? And I'm sure you're going to have some women who will come up to you and say, oh, I had an abortion, it doesn't bother me. They're lying to you unless they literally are made of stone, unless they don't have a heart. You cannot have a heart. You cannot have feelings, emotions, a heart and soul, a mind functioning normally and say, well, I aborted my baby and I don't care. You can't do it. So if you do have somebody telling you that they had an abortion and it doesn't bother them, that their life is great, well, I'd think long and hard about that person and what kind of person they are to have as a friend or whoever around you. That can't be normal. It's just not a normal way to think that you had an abortion and life is great. You may be, you know, a person may go on to have a successful life, a successful marriage, like I said earlier, have everything, you know, great house, nice cars, money, have it all. But you cannot tell me that somewhere under all that stuff, there isn't a person who isn't suffering, wondering about this child, if they have a heart. So I'm telling you right now, this is not a video to tell you to do it or not to do it. This is a video to tell you there is a major consequence for an abortion, major. And I, for one, would never want to have that in my mind, in my conscience, in my heart, and in my soul. I for one, couldn't have it. So think long and hard about it. Think about your future. Think about, can you go to bed every night and wake up every morning knowing that you ended a life? Can you do that and live with it peacefully? Can you get through life with that every day? Can you look at other children and not stop and say, gosh, I wonder if my child would have looked like that? Can you do it? If you honestly think you can do it, then of course nobody's going to stop you from getting an abortion. And I'm not saying that anybody who's gotten an abortion doesn't have a heart. I'm saying if they say that it doesn't affect them at all, that it's just in the past, it's over, they're lying to you. They've got to be lying to you, because you cannot do that. You cannot end a life, your own child's life, and go for the rest of your life and not think about it. It's just not possible. Like I said, unless somebody takes out that part of your memory, it's just not possible. So is that something you want to deal with for the rest of your life? That you, I hate to say it that way, but it is the reality that you killed this life, okay? Call it cells, call it whatever the hell you want to call it, cluster of cells, for all you people who say it's not a baby until it's fully formed. I'm sorry, guys, it is a baby. It's not a dog, it's not a cat, it's a human. And the minute those cells start to form, a human is on its way. It's on its way to being brought onto this earth. So, can you live with it? Can you deal with the fact that when you lay your head down at night, you're not going to stop and think about that child? Even if you gave it up for adoption, at least you can think of in terms of, I hope it has a wonderful home. You know, if you got to see the baby before you gave it up for adoption, which most mothers do, um, at least you have a little thought in your head, you know. I remember my baby had fuzzy brown hair, or a soft blonde hair, or pitch black hair, or whatever. I remember my baby had this shape of eyes. You have something to kind of think about, you know, like you brought this life into this world, and maybe somewhere down the line you'll meet that child. But again, I will repeat, you get an abortion, you have zero options. There are no options down the line. It is over, it is done, it is finished. Except